Hey guys, I want to do this little short video for you guys for Feeding Tube Awareness Week and just tell you guys a little bit about my story with a feeding tube. The whole reason that I got a feeding tube in the first place was that I still kind of have a condition. I was born with a birth defect called congenital diaphragmatic hernia. Now, I got my permanent, I'm thinking I was on NG and NJ's like nasal tubes, which is good on yours, until I was like 4.5 months old. When I was 4.5 months old, they put in like a permanent, they made a permanent track, which track is basically like a line, the lining of your tube, like the line of where your tube goes on the inside. So, basically, they made a track, and they made the track when I was 4.5 months old, so I had a permanent place to put a tube. I didn't have to like stick me or stick anything, no. So I had a permanent place to put a tube. And that was there from, and I'll show you guys the spot. This is where I put in when I was 4.5 months old. This hole was used by a birth tube from December 17th, 1997 to around August 21st or 22nd of 2012. So that was a good chunk of my life that this hole was used, and it's actually just starting to, as you can see, close up. In 2012, I went in for a normal tube change, and I had, first of all, let me explain. This track went all the way up to my stomach, which is in my chest. So yeah, and that's the track that was there from when I was 4.5 months old to when I was 15. So it was it went right up here. Okay. So then in 2012, I would get it under a scope, and they would put it from here, and they'd put a guide wire and loop it all the way up here. And I was supposed to have that procedure. I had that procedure done every 3 months. But then in 2012, the wrong doctor went to put it in and didn't know my history and punctured my colon. And so that was in my colon. This tube was in my colon. I had the tube on this side. I had it in my colon for about a week and a half, and then they made the new track. I didn't know it for 5 days that it was in my colon, but 5 days plus a couple days in the hospital after that. I was admitted on the 19th, and it was like 2 days after that I had the surgery. So this was actually in my colon without my knowledge, and there was a tube in here, in this hole, from the hole that was from age 4.5 months to this hole was used. It was punctured in my colon. It was in my colon for, like I said, a tube was in there, but the tube was in there, and it was in my colon for from like I said, a week and a half. And then after that, when they went to repair my colon, because the track is all the way up here, they could not make it safely back to that old spot, so they put it in here. And this is in my jejunum, which is my small intestine. And Mary Fry, her tube is pretty much in the same place, and made a jejunal pocket, and that's basically what mine is. That's what my surgeon did. So yeah, that's a little bit of my tube history. Also, like I said, I've had various tubes throughout my life, but I just felt like, I want to show that. But I've had various tubes around my whole life, and my mom could probably tell you all of them, but I probably can't. So that's just pretty much what I know of my feeding tube history. Now, why I have a feeding tube is because I never ate enough to sustain my weight. I've never ate enough. I could eat my mouth. I did not start showing interest until I would pick at foods when I was like a toddler, and that I would not actually eat anything. And it was actually a miracle that I would actually pick at foods, because a mom with the same conditions that he wouldn't even touch food. So I would pick foods as a child, but I wouldn't necessarily eat anything. And then I'd say I was probably like, when I was like 5, started school, I would experiment, but I would chew and spit out. I would get just the flavor. I wouldn't really get anything from, the flavor, but I wouldn't really get much food, like much nutrition out of that. And when I was 11, that's when I really started to go to town on food. That's when I really, and I think the reason I didn't have interest in food for so long is because I had a lot of stuff stuck down my, and I went without food really for 6.5 months. Like, basically till I was I think a year old, my parents weren't really allowed to offer me food because they didn't know how solid food would do. So I went probably like my first year of life not really knowing food, so I didn't really care about it, and I had, I associated things going down my mouth as like being awful because, I would get like nasal tubes and stuff like that. And so I would say, yeah, like that. And then when I hit 11, for some reason, I really started eating. It was like, for some reason, it was like after I had my neck surgery, I think it was maybe a bulge that had something called Chiari malformation, and that means it's like there's a fluid pocket, like your spinal fluid's pressing, and not flowing, so it makes a pocket. And I think that my spinal fluid pocket was maybe impeding maybe not making me swallow as well, because after I had my neck surgery, when I was 11, I really started to eat really well, and I really started to gain interest in foods, and then from like ages 11 to 15 is when I really started going up on the food chain, like really, not food chain, but really started eating and wanting to eat. And then wanting to eat, and when I was 15, after my 15th birthday, my mom thought that maybe we had a year or even less on the tube, like I was eating that well. And then I'm 15, and when I was 15, my got punctured in 2012, and I wasn't offered food for 6 weeks after that, but I still wanted food. But then when I really got to where, after my surgery in 2012, where I wanted to eat big meals and big quantities, because I was weak and tired in my surgery in 2012, so I wanted to eat, but I didn't really have the energy. I was more recovering. But then after my surgery, when I really started to eat again and really started to eat big quantities of food and meals and stuff like that, more than just snacks, that's when I developed something called dumping syndrome. And that's basically the main reason now why I have the tube, because I do eat, I do eat normal meals, full meals. I eat eggs for breakfast, but it does not process in my body, and I do not gain any weight hardly any weight from food. So that's basically why I have the feeding tube currently. So, yeah.